Good evening. I'm Bryce McLeay, and welcome to Outside the House, the unofficial Big Brother after show. We're really leaning into this unofficial after show business because, as counterintuitive as it sounds, I think it actually might make us stand out. Anywho, this season is well underway, and we're at the first eviction over and done with. Who will rise to power and whose star will dim next? We'll find out soon enough. But first, let me introduce you to the Outside the House team. Woo!
Woo!
My co-host needs no introduction. You know her from Big Brother 20, her gifts, and live concerts on Instagram. Coming to you remotely from her chateau in Louisiana, please welcome Rachel Swindler.
Hi, everybody. Yay! Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. But no, I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Bryce, for coming up with this amazing concept and contacting me about it. So I'm very excited. We got a whole studio in here. We are ready to talk Big Brother. I'm so excited to be a part of something that has to do with Big Brother this season, especially with you, because this guy right here is absolutely amazing and hilarious. Guys, we're gonna have so much fun.
Keep going. Anyway, Rachel, you and I hosted a Big Brother after show last season together on AfterBuzz TV. So thank you for enduring me for another season. And producing our show from the comfort of his very own humble abode, here with his color commentary, please welcome Big Brother superfan Mark Herman.
Hey, yes! Everyone. Happy to be here. And Bryce, I'd call myself a casual super fan, right in the middle.
All right, just a moderate.
I put on my producer hat already. We just got to tighten it up a little bit, Bryce. Okay.
Mark, brag about yourself for a second.
Yeah, come on, Mark.
Let the people know who you are.
Tell everybody how this show came to be, because you pushed it. So
essentially, I was bugging Bryce for a while to get on that AfterBuzz show, and I kept bugging him again this year, and he's like, "That's not happening." I said, "You know what? Let's do our own show, and it'll be a lot better." And you know what? I think it's going to be a lot better. Feels great already. We're 2 minutes in. We call it.
Yes.
Good.
Well, you guys, just you may have noticed, Mark's last name is Herman, but he is in no relation to Caitlin Herman.
Yes, we want to make that clear.
Are you her dad? Maybe.
No, I'm 1/8 psychic. So there's a little bit of familial relation there, but aside from that, that's about it.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I guess that's a real bummer. Because I thought you were related at least, or at least somehow. But anyway, so before we get going, I just want to say that we started the show, as we mentioned, in hopes of giving you, the Big Brother fans, a 360 perspective on the game. As you know, Rachel was on Big Brother 20, expertly played the game, as opposed to some other people who don't think so. I do. And she can give you insight on being inside the house. And for my part, I was Julie Chen Moonves' assistant on Big Brother 16 and 17, so I know the behind-the-scenes aspect of the show's production, or as you could say, know the outside of the house, hence the title.
Yes.
Plus, I've been hosting and moderating Big Brother and Celebrity Big Brother after shows 4 years running. And I just wanted to clarify myself, because I feel like most people are probably thinking, like, why is Rachel paired with a rando? Why isn't she doing this with Brett and Winston or something like that?
Shut up.
You know what I mean, though? And Mark is, related to Caitlin Herman.
Yeah, obviously.
He's her father. So, but anyway, we really just appreciate everyone who's tuning in tonight and subscribing to our YouTube channel. It's going to be a great season full of gameplay analysis, former house guests, members of the production, Big Brother production crew, and hopefully Rachel's impressions and singing talents.
Yes.
Rachel, can you give us a Nicole F preview?
Okay, so it's not perfected, but I guess you could say, guys, I just get really emotional when I think about Devon, because I never said that I never gave her and said that, told her that, like, thank you for voting for me. And so I just get really emotional about Devon. But no shade to Nicole F. No shade to Nicole F. Love you, girl. But yeah, we're all about impressions this season for sure. I got some Enzo coming up. We got Enzo for sure. So
meow, meow.
The meow meow, the kitty cat cat cat. So I'm ready to go.
Mark, do you have any impressions?
No.
Straight
not
up.
Not good ones. So let's just go with no. Let's go with no.
Well, this is going to sound like I'm trying to sell you guys health insurance, but we know you have a lot of great choices when it comes to Big Brother After Shows, recaps, podcasts, since there's like a million of them. So we just want to say thanks for giving us a shot. So let's get right to it. We're not going to bore you with who the house guests are. If you're watching this, then you already know. But I do want to discuss something that's interesting to me, which may not be interesting to anyone else, but is which out of the current crop of house guests, who has played Big Brother together before? And I'll get to why I'm asking this. So I'm going to list them real quick. So Kaser and Janelle, as mentioned in the broadcast, have played together 3 times in BB6, BB7, which was also All-Stars, and now this season. Janelle also played with Ian in BB14. Memphis and Keisha played together in BB10. David and Nicole Anthony played last year in BB21. Nicole F., who I'm going to refer to, and I hope you guys will too, as Franzel for the duration of this season, has played with both Cody in BB16 and Devon in BB18. And finally, Bailey and Tyler played together on Rachel's season, BB20. So Rachel, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to ask you, do you think it's an advantage or a disadvantage to have played with people before?
I mean, gosh, that's a double-edged sword, really. I mean, if I was walking to the house and I saw Bailey and Tyler, I would be ecstatic because I would have people that I knew. I think when you're coming in as a pair, like Janelle and Kaser are, that's when it gets dangerous. I mean, we're seeing, but you're not necessarily viewing, Bailey and Tyler as a pair because they had so much beef on their season. So it seems that people, as we saw in the show tonight, are viewing them more as enemies rather than a secret pair, which seems maybe that's in the works. And I had thought about that before the season even started. I said, Bailey and Tyler need to work this angle 100% because
I agree.
This is going to be their bread and butter, or one of the bread and butters that gets them really far in this game. And I have no idea why I just said bread and butter, but that just came out. But I think it could go either way. Clearly, it's not going well for Janelle and Kaser. Memphis completely said screw you to his partner, voted her out, and didn't really seem to even fight for her, which was very disheartening, I feel like, for Keisha. And I've seen some stuff on Keisha's social media. Whoever's running her social media is not happy with Memphis.
Well, yes, and just so we should say, we are talking about spoilers. So if you guys are on the West Coast, we are going to be talking about spoilers. So don't watch it or come back and watch it when when the broadcast is aired.
Wait,
but Rachel,
Keisha got evicted?
Mark, stop telling people that. Don't tell
Okay.
people. Don't spoil them. Don't spoil the whole show. No, I'm kidding. So Rachel, you said yesterday on Instagram Live that you didn't think Tyler and Bay would be able to trust each other fully. First of all, I want to know why you said that. And then as you mentioned tonight, we saw them talking. Do you think Bailey meant it when she said she's ready to put the past behind her?
I do. I think Bailey is very forgiving. And I think that Bailey has an incredibly big heart, as we've seen on this show and on the challenge. I mean, she stayed very loyal to Casey throughout the challenge. And when Casey backstabbed her, she got incredibly emotional. And, Bailey forgave Casey on the challenge. So what's to say that she's not going to forgive Tyler on this season? And, Tyler's not the type of person to hold grudges or to be angry or mean. I would say Tyler's probably one of the most supportive people from my season via social media. If I'm really speaking, he's always liking my stuff. He's very, he's just a really overall great person. And so is Bailey. So I think that they're going to be able to trust each other up until a certain point. I feel like there's going to be a certain point where the bond seems to maybe not be as strong. Maybe feelings from the past season start to creep up, old feelings, because that house can really twist your mind. So I think right now they're good, but I think that the later on the season, we're really going to see the test of their relationship going forward.
That's good. I mean, I agree with you. I think that there's something with them. I liked that they finally did come together and we got to see them talk on the broadcast tonight. As obviously people who have watched the live feeds already saw this, but the fact that they are kind of making this alliance, at least we're good with each other. I thought that was really progressive. Now, speaking of Tyler, we saw last night that Tyler was making final 2 deals all over the place, willy-nilly. And I just want to know, who do you think, if there's anybody who do you think his true final two is with? Or is he just blowing smoke to everybody right now?
I don't think he's blowing smoke to anybody. When you're in that house and somebody, like he said, when somebody comes to you and they say, I want to have a final two with you, or I want to be in a deal with you, I don't know if I would necessarily be saying yes to all the final twos. I would probably be saying yes to all the alliances. But you don't want to, I don't know what I would do if somebody came up to me and they want to be a final two and I didn't want to be a final two with them. I probably would just say yes. I'd be like, yeah, sure. So it's pretty interesting that so many people are coming up to him and asking for final twos when they know exactly how he was on his season and how many final two deals he had.
Yes.
So I'm really shocked that people are still so trusting of Tyler and knowing his gameplay from his season. I guess if I had to choose really who he probably is saying, this is my true final two, if he's smart, he'll know that Cody and Enzo are very close. So right now, who are his final twos? It's like Christmas, Cody.
Out, Mark.
Well, I mean, we kind of went back on our deal already, but okay. I don't want to talk about it. I'll have to make a scrolling ticker of all of his final two deals.
Mark is in a final two with Tyler.
It's very frustrating.
No, so it's, I know Christmas. Cody, I think. There's guys, if there's anybody in the chat too, help us out. I know that there was like at least 5. So, I mean, to me, like I was going to also ask you who should it be with? Who should his final two be with?
I think he should. With Bailey and Davon have it pretty locked. I think Cody and Enzo have it pretty locked. I think maybe his best bet is maybe Memphis, especially with him winning. Are we allowed to do spoilers? Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I just wanted to tell everyone that we're doing that.
With him becoming HOH this week, and if Tyler's really smart and he can see the bond that's really formed and is between Enzo and Cody, then he should really try to get into Memphis's head and be like, hey man, we need to go to this end together. Let's have Cody and Enzo in our back pockets. I'll have them there. But when it comes to the final 4 or the final 3 and we cut, I got your back, you got my back, something along those lines. But again, I don't think can really break through Memphis because of the whole brigade and hitman connection. So maybe it's going with like a Christmas, I'm not really sure because I know he has a final two with Christmas too. So yeah. It's up in the air. It's up in the air right now.
Mark, who do you think, or who do you think Tyler should align with in his final twos?
Ooh, really? I think Bailey though. That's probably going to be the most under the radar. He'll be able to have a deal with someone. Really?
Yeah.
I think that, or even Christmas, because he's not really, I feel like they're not really rallying each other. And what it looked like, I think Christmas was one of his first final two deals from what I maybe saw on Twitter. Yeah. But I agree with you. Bailey could be a great one, but she'll definitely choose Davon over him.
When push comes to shove, for sure.
Yeah. And Ryan, who's watching, actually thinks Christmas is the way to go. That seems to kind of be the consensus, the sentiment there. Yeah, definitely.
Mark, what do you think about aligning yourself with someone you've already played with? What do you think about that?
I feel like that's just a great way to get a target painted on your back. I'm really a huge fan of Cody and Enzo's alliance. I think that's really like when you come back in the season of returnees like that, you need to find another way to have a deal with someone, I guess, that where it's not obvious. And, with them, they're from the same place. They can bond over that. They can get trust from that. And I feel like that might be the best way to handle it. But really, I'm just the producer. So.
Hey, but your opinion matters.
Yeah, that's what we want. Well, I'm like, God, I mean, I'm about to go off on Nicole Franzel, like in a good way, because I feel like we're seeing this. Like you said, Rachel, it's a double-edged sword. We saw this. We're seeing this with her specifically because she's obviously linked to Cody, who she played with in BB19, and Davon. Even though Nicole has, unbeknownst to Nicole, but Davon is not having her at all, and she played with her together. She's still, so this could be really detrimental to Franzel's game. And again, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I like Franzel, and I think she deserved her win. There's a lot of sexist commentary by fans toward her, and I think it's unwarranted because if a guy did the same thing, played the same game she did, he would have been praised and lauded as one of the greatest. And, frankly, it's bullshit. Yeah. So I remember being, name drop or to my own horn. I remember meeting and chatting with her after BB16 at the after party. And I remember her saying she was still very upset. Like even after the show was over, it was very real to her. She was very upset still about Christine. If you guys remember, Christine kind of screwed her over in BB16. And she was still very distraught about it. But Nicole did the same thing to Devon in BB18. So I kind of feel like I don't blame her for not completely forgiving her, even though she said she does, but she's sort of not on her side yet or whatever. I guess if I were Nicole, I would just avoid Devon at all costs. I also think that she had a good idea about maybe not, I know she said she told Cody, I'll start a girls' alliance, you start a guys' alliance, and I'll tell you everything. Again, she was criticized for that, but I also believe that was strategy, number one. Number two, that would have been a good idea. I feel like some of these people, not just her, but they're kind of falling back on their safeties. Whereas if there were a Tyler Bailey, alliance or whatever, final two, that would be great because no one would see that coming. And that could be used against him because they're talking to other sides of the house. Now, they wouldn't have to give up all the information necessary, but I just kind of feel like that's something that that was something that I thought about. I just don't know. I'm very interested in this. I don't know what producers were thinking, if this was intentional, if it was because of COVID and certain people tested positive and they just decided to throw these people in the house together again, because it is interesting. There's a lot of people that have played together. Out of all the seasons, they could have picked people from almost every season. Again, maybe you're not going to get some of those earlier seasons. And they did pick fan favorites, but I don't know. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually expecting a lot more BB20 people on the show. So I'm actually pretty thankful that there was not as many connections. I mean, there are connections, but I think it could have been worse because we were rumored to have Casey in the house with Tyler and Tyler and Bailey. So I've been 3 BB20 people. And then also Josh, who's very well connected throughout the community. Yeah. So, I mean,
some might say too well connected.
Is that wait, come back here. Is that what do you mean by that?
I don't know. There's just the talk about him trying to pregame with literally everyone. And the rumor is that may have cost him his shot, but it's all rumors.
There's also a rumor on Twitter that Evil Dick made all of that up to get him off the show. So
really?
Well, I saw something on Twitter. That said,
which is how all the conversation started.
That Evil Dick actually created all of that falsely to get him kicked off the show. But I don't know if that's true or not. Please do not quote me on that. That's just what I saw on Twitter. Can't believe.
Well, and also the same thing. The same thing with my girl Nicole. They said, I mean, people were saying that she got Dan and Derek both kicked off because she said they were pre-gaming.
Yeah, and here's my thing when it comes to talking about rumors and past house guests and stuff like that. I always want to keep it as positive and upbeat as possible. I mean, I know it's hard, but I always try to go. Sometimes things are created falsely. Sometimes things are construed to make it look a certain way. And I mean, I'm glad that I'm at least praised for this. At least I try to be as positive as I can on social media, especially towards past house guests, because it's truly so difficult when you get out of the house. And if there's anybody that understands where you've been, it's a past house guest. They understand what it's like to get out of that house. So I just always like to make sure I'm being as upbeat as I can. And even if, because these rumors, I mean, we don't know.
Well, yeah. And listen, people can drum up stuff anyway. I mean, it's helping people gravitate toward the show. If all those rumors hadn't started, it just gaslighted all the fans to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Let's start. I want to watch the season.
Yeah.
And then they can talk about it forever. I think, as you more than anyone knows, Rachel, the Big Brother community is just rabid fans, and it's amazing. And but I think also people can be very harsh. And I think that everyone needs to, especially in this sort of time in our society and life and world, we should be a little bit more conscious of being positive,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a really good.
I know.
So Rachel, but you mentioned you thought there were going to be a lot of BB20 people. Were you approached?
No, I was not approached.
If you were,
neither
would
I.
If you were approached, would you have done it?
I would have, yeah.
Immediately? Like it wouldn't have been in a heartbeat, or you thought about it?
I'm such a super fan of the show. I don't think that it would have been a question for me. I mean, I probably would have said yes. And then a couple of days later or the next day, I would have been like, fuck, what did I just do? I probably would have done something like that. But those casting people, they really have a way of kind of buttering you up and really talking you up and making you feel comfortable and making you feel like you made the right decision. So I think that I would have put a lot of stuff aside. I think I would have put my thoughts aside and I would have just played the game. I mean, I really think I would have said yes.
Well, yeah, I think, okay, so say you had said yes, they had asked you and everything, and you walked into this house and you see all these people, all the same people, except you're one of them, maybe minus one. Let's just say Keisha wasn't there, and it was you. But what would you do? What would your strategy be going into that house, looking at all those people?
To be honest with you, my strategy would probably be very similar to the strategy I had in BB20, which was being very sociable, connecting very well with every single person, having very deep, long conversations with people, and making people feel comfortable around me and making them laugh. I mean, that's what I did in BB20, and it got me, as far as it did until I freaked out. So I would just mainly really, really, really trust the people that were closest to me and not freak out and not say that I would be a pawn for 5 seconds when I'm in the HOH room. Probably not that either. So just stand my ground and not let anybody or anyone sway me from what I believe or what I stand for. Well, not stand for, but when I go into the HOH room and I have a plan in mind, I'm going to stick to that plan and I'm not going to let anybody talk me out of it. So
that's let's just remember that when you're back on the show.
When I'm,
Okay, so tonight there was a lot of back and forth. Well, we saw the results of tonight, but there was a lot of back and forth about who was going home this week. The HOH Cody wanted Keisha gone, which I'm really not sure why, but I guess he got his wish because Keisha was voted out 13-0. Mark, were you sad to see Keisha go?
I don't want to talk about it. Really, I've been having a hard time dealing with it. Luckily, I got this book to help me cope with things.
The best.
Yeah. So really, it's just because I was using a pillow, I was using a towel, and really, this just kind of let's just open a random page. This just really,
yeah,
gives you a lot of creative.
Give that full screen. Show us full screen.
I usually just scream at my boyfriend, so that's really cool.
That works. But yeah, there's
your
all kinds of stuff in there.
poor boyfriend. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
bagels. I got it.
Well, I mean, you got to fill the hole with something. So why not a scream? What?
I'm like going down.
Okay. Yeah. No, Rachel, were you sad to see Keisha go?
Okay. Well, I tweeted out early in the beginning of this that I thought Keisha was going to win. So I'm a little embarrassed, but I thought because she wasn't, you know what? I really want to root for the old schoolers in this because I'm such an old school fan. I watched from season 1, like I always say. And so I'm really rooting for the old schoolers in this season. So that's why I picked Keisha, because I was like, Janelle, she's going to have too big of a target on her back. Keisha, on the other hand, as an old school player, is not going to have, I feel like, not even a target at all. I was like, there's no way in hell they're going to target Keisha the first week. I don't think that she's, the strongest player in there. And she's not really aligned with anybody. So why not keep her? Because I would want to get somebody out of the house that was a bigger threat, a bigger target than Keisha. But I mean, I am sad to see her go. I was sad to see her cry. But from what it looked like, she didn't really campaign that hard. So I can't feel that bad for somebody being evicted and not, campaigning when they're on the block. And then she got Tyler's name wrong. So
Taylor,
that was pretty.
We can't get Tyler's name wrong.
No.
Yeah, like Janelle said, you can't be on an all-star season and be getting people's names wrong.
For real. I mean, but here's the thing with Keisha. For me, I felt like Keisha just from. I mean, I like her. I didn't watch her season, but I liked her from what I saw this season, and I just feel like she was less of a threat to me than Kevin, because first of all, I felt like Kevin didn't realize he was even playing Big Brother. He doesn't get it. He needs to buck up. He needs to just say, okay, he's need to be like, not everything is a catastrophe, and Keisha sort of was that way a little bit, but like you said, I don't think she campaigned. I think Kevin did at least campaign a little bit more than her, but to be honest, I wasn't really thrilled with either of them. Now, Keisha is, I have heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she was a great player, in the season.
I believe it's really, I watched that season, but it's
12
long.
Years ago.
But she made top 4. She was America's favorite player, as Julie Chen said. Yeah. So she has a lot of credentials to her name, and she was a great player in her season. I'd have to go back and really see specifics of what she did. But looks like she got in a big brawl on her birthday and still made it out. So if you can get in a big brawl like that mid-season or whatever point in the season it was that happened, then kudos to you.
Yeah. Well, I really liked what Julie said to Keisha, because, I think Julie, and I know that Julie really meant it, because she wouldn't have said it if otherwise. And I think that it was just really nice. It was probably really nice of Keisha to hear, because, listen, this is a hard time, and all these house guests are running a risk of, they are isolated, luckily, but, they're playing a game, and this is already a stressful time. To add the Big Brother house to this is frankly insane.
Yeah.
So
I can't even imagine. I would be even extra emotional than I probably already was.
Yeah. But anyway, so this season is quickly becoming old school Big Brother. What we alluded to is it's old school Big Brother versus new school Big Brother. Case in point, when Janelle asked Bailey what this vote with the house thing was, meaning that in the past several seasons, the house guests usually evict who the HOH wants to be evicted, minus if it's a hinky vote or an alliance member staying loyal. And Bailey couldn't answer the question. So if Janelle tampers with this current trend, it could really make for some exciting and suspenseful eviction nights. However, tonight we saw a 13-zip vote. So what do you guys think? Do you think that we'll see this happening? Do you think Janelle is going to make, are they going to defy the HOH from going on?
If Janelle can get the numbers, then yes, I do think so. But from what it looked like, she was really trying to get Keisha to stay last night, from what I saw on Twitter. Yeah. And a lot of people were taking note to that, saying, why is she pushing so hard? Why is she trying so hard? Why is she doing this? Why is she doing that? So I think it's best for Janelle for right now to continue to lay low, because that's what everybody's doing. But as the viewer, I don't want her to lay low. I want her to keep being the most fabulous Janelle that she is, wearing that ridiculously amazing star costume. So I want Janelle to I want her to be old school Janelle with Kaser. I want that. But unfortunately, they needed to get power this week. I feel like with Memphis, fingers crossed that they'll be safe. Because Memphis has already hinted that he wants to put up Ian and Bailey, but that I'm not, who knows if that's actually going to happen. But I think it's best for Janelle right now to continue to go with the house. But I don't understand why nobody didn't throw a wonky vote on that last vote that we had. Nobody's going to throw it and then blame it on Janelle or Kaser. Come on.
Perfect.
Not that I want that
too easy.
Yeah, not that I want that to happen, but that would have made for some great entertainment.
Listen, I feel like Janelle and Kaser are great players. I love them. I do not want them to go anywhere. But like you said, I feel like they, one, needed to get power this week, and two, they've played 3 times now, and all 3 together. It's like their target is painted so big on their backs, like you can't. Yeah. It's like a freaking sign at the store.
Yeah, and this is Janelle's 4th time.
Yeah. And so I just kind of feel like the problem with, I mean, this is what I would be doing if I were in the house, which again, no one cares about. But if I were in the house, I would say I would be targeting the people that have played multiple times. That includes, people that, like Nicole Franzel and who else? Davon. And I mean, they've played twice. There's other people that have played multiple times. And it's like, that's more than, I mean, like this is people's second times. That's not what I'm saying, but like, it's just the multiple times people are the biggest threats because they've had the most time to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, Cody, with Cody winning HOH, I mean, he's a new schooler. So, it made sense for him. I mean, who knows if it really made sense, but in his eyes, it seemed like it made sense to go after the old schoolers for the most part, minus Memphis, because of the whole Hitman and Brigade.
But what do you think about the HOH, like with the HOH, do you think that they should follow and say like the HOH wants so-and-so out, like Cody wanted Keisha out, we have to go by that? Or do you think it's better to disrupt it is kind of, if
you have the numbers, disrupt it. If you don't worry.
So you're saying basically play it safe like more times than not, because most of the time you probably don't have the numbers. So if you're going to go against the HOH, you don't want to be the one outlier.
If I had three votes within my alliance, or I had 3 or I had 4 and I needed like 2 more, I would go after it then. If I was literally a sitting duck and knew that I needed 5 votes and I only had 2, I don't know that I would try to ruffle feathers. I would maybe test the waters to see what people were feeling. But if I started to get a bite and I really thought that it could, spiral or, go into it where I could get the person I wanted to stay, I would do that. I would defy the HOH, especially if I was on the outs, like Janelle and Kaser. If I was in good with Cody, I definitely would not defy him because he holds a lot of power, and especially the first head of household holds a lot of power, as we saw with Tyler as the first HOH in my season, who made it all the way to the end. Cody has set himself up really well with the rest of the house.
Yeah, agreed. I think, Mark, what do you think?
Gosh,
no,
I
agree. I think Cody, by being the first HOH, was able to really bridge the gap between the old school and new school, and it's really a unique position to be in. And I think he played it well, even though I disagree with Keisha going home. I think Kevin freaked out more about it, and usually that gets you sent home. I don't know why it was any different this time, but
I think Cody really thought that he could use Kevin to his advantage. And you're in a vulnerable spot like that. And especially Kevin he wants to be accepted. So, as most people would have vengeance when they're getting off the block, he seems to be the type of person that he wants to fit in. So he's going to,
True.
So instead of coming after Cody, he's going to go after, he even said it on the feeds, he was going to go after Janelle because of how, so he's not even talking about going after Cody.
God, you're blowing my mind right now. That is such a good point. I didn't even think about that. Because that's what you want. And that's what you want as the outgoing HOH. That's who's going to, if they're going to do your bidding for you, let them.
Yeah.
And, I think that Keisha, now granted, she said that she was going after 2 guys. She said if she won HOH, she would have gone after 2 guys had she won. So again, that does put Cody in a vulnerable position and a very easy target. Had Keisha stayed, won HOH, she easily would have put him up because, tit for tat,
Yeah, I think, but Keisha, she did not do a good job with offering stuff up. She didn't do a good job with, and I talked about this today on the Secret Alliance podcast with Daniel Reyes and Jason Guy.
Everybody go listen to that after this.
Yeah, and they gave us a nice shout out in their podcast too. So thanks awesome. To them as well. But you need to be offering your firstborn. You need to be offering your blood. You need to be offering. What can I give you? I got about $1,200 in my savings account right now. Can I give you that when we get out? What can I give you to ensure that I stay? And I wish that she had gone up to that HOH room. Yeah, I mean, as Sonia said, Keisha didn't try to campaign much. And, from what we saw on the show, she really just went up there and was like, I'm not getting a good vibe. And I'm like, Then you make it a good vibe. Make it a good vibe then.
Yeah,
Go up there.
You make that a pressure cooker.
Yes, exactly. So unfortunately, as much as I wanted her to stay too, because I want Janelle and Kaser to make it farther, she didn't do what she needed to do to stay for an all-star season.
I know. Yeah. I really do. It is funny that I say that I would target those, the people that have played multiple times. I really do have such an affection for Kaser and Janelle, because I just think they're good people and they're really good players. They're not this I like the people on this season. I'm sure you guys both do too, that are not so concerned about the social following of I went on this show because I'm going to get, however many 200,000 followers or something, these people were there far before social media. So they don't care about that at all. I mean, maybe Janelle in the back of her head is thinking, oh yeah, my real estate business could really benefit from me being on Big Brother, but that's not the top of her mind. She doesn't care about that. So I love that, because it does feel like that old school Big Brother. Anyway, speaking of Janelle, we saw her and Kaser at the last minute use their VIP passes to access the safety suite. I'm only bringing this up so that we can just get it out of the way. The safety suite is, of course, a competition open for any house guest who wishes to compete for safety from the threat of eviction. Each house guest may only participate in one competition, and whoever wins will be granted safety for the week. Plus, another house guest of their choice will also receive safety, but with a punishment, which is where we saw Janelle in the star costume. So, as we saw tonight, Memphis won HOH. He's now the HOH. How important is the safety suite going to be during his week, you guys?
Oh, I mean, it's going to be very important for a couple of people. I mean, we're going to have to start seeing who he's thinking about, and if those people are going to get any inkling. Like I said earlier, he said on the live feeds he was going to put Ian up as his target and Bailey as his pawn. I don't think that that's really a smart move to put Bailey up, considering, I don't know, it just doesn't seem rational to me. There's other people he could pick to be a pawn. Bailey's well connected with his alliance member Cody, and so it doesn't make sense to me. But the safety suite is going to be very important for those players who get that inkling, like Janelle and Kaser did. I could possibly be in trouble. It's very important for Ian this week.
I agree, but I also think that there's I think that Ian could potentially get I think if Memphis, I'm sorry, not Ian. If Memphis is strategic and smart, he will make everybody feel safe. So, so that they won't use a safety suit. And I think that's what Cody maybe didn't do as well last week, is the fact that he didn't well, first of all, we really didn't know what the safety suite was. At that point, I don't think they knew sort of the power and everything that came with that. So I don't necessarily blame him, but I will say that I think if moving forward, whoever becomes HOH, and until this power, dies, they need to really make it a point to have everybody feel as safe as absolutely possible. And I think this is a prime week for Memphis to not get barely any blood on his hands.
Yeah. I don't think Memphis is a good enough liar, though.
I mean, that's what I'm worried about, because
I think he's going to be he's too genuine. Yeah. Well, he's going to be very obvious, I feel like, with who he wants out. Not like obvious, but he's not going to be lying and buttering them up like some of the HOHs would to make them feel like they're extremely safe, like a Tyler. Tyler was HOH would be like, no, you're safe. Don't do it. Don't do the safety suite.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh!
Mark, how important do you think the safety suite is?
I think it's going to be pretty damn important, but like we were just saying, though, Memphis is really nice. I don't think he would put anyone up who hasn't wronged him, and I don't know if anyone's really wronged him this season, so he's going to have to kind of reach for it, and it's going to be difficult, but I guess what I'm saying is I don't really have anything to add.
I don't know. I don't think he's that nice. He backstabbed his friend on his season, BB10, and then he backstabbed Keisha again on this season. So
I was gonna say, because I feel like he sort of backstabbed Keisha in the fact that, remember in the first episode he was like, hey, I think that girl's on my seat. She was on my season.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't really remember her.
Just like the total shade. It's just
I don't know if that, again, I mean, that there's no way that was strategy. That was totally genuine, because the fact that he said that. He wouldn't have said that otherwise. It's like
I have no idea. I don't remember that part, but if that's what he said,
yeah,
that's pretty effed up.
Well, yeah. I mean, so who do you guys? So we have all these final twos. We've got all this stuff. I guess I'm just wondering, like, who do you guys like? What are your first? Let's just go this. Let's go a little bit broader. Who do you guys like? Not necessarily. We're going to get to who you predict to win, so don't say that. But who initially do you like in the game? Who do you think is playing a good game? Right.
I'm going to say Enzo. I think he's playing the best game right now. His personality is so infectious, and people want to be around him. And I think that Cody might be looked at as more of a threat than Enzo, but then Enzo won the veto. So it's hard to say. I think Danny is playing a really good game. She's got her hands in a couple of pots. I think Bailey's playing a good game. And I also think Nicole Franzel's playing a good game. And Cody. Sorry, there's a lot of them. It's too early to tell, I feel like.
It really is too early.
It's too early. But from what it seems like to me, there's about 5 people that are really stepping up. But, with all these alliances and side alliances going on with Cody, he hope it doesn't get exposed, because he could be targeted then if that's the case, especially if Bailey and Davon find out about it, because I feel like he's more loyal to his other alliance before he's loyal to Bailey and Davon.
Yeah.
So like the Danny and Nicole and Enzo and Cody and Memphis, I think he's loyal to them more so than he's loyal to them too. So if they were to find out about that, then Cody better watch out.
Yeah. Mark, who did you like? Like when the cast was announced, who did you like? Who were you excited to see play? Not necessarily what
you mean aside from Keisha.
Mark, I'm so sorry about Keisha. I mean,
I'm just really broken up about it.
You're never going to get over this, are you?
I'll be okay. No, I was really excited to see Ian back in there. I think he played a great game in 14, and even under some really adverse situations in that season. I actually rewatched the funeral last night with my son, and just that whole thing is crazy. So I was excited to see him come in there. As for who's playing a good game right now, I agree with Rachel. It's really too early to tell. I think, I again agree that Enzo is doing well. Anyone that has that magnetic personality that just draws you in, is fun to be around. That's what you kind of need to get off on the right foot in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wanted to say also just about Enzo real quick. I think that he's so no nonsense. Like even his diary room last night when he was riding the banana, he's like, I know you guys are going to put this in slow motion. I know you're going to do. I mean, he's just like he doesn't get the sort of like magic of Big Brother. Like he just doesn't care, And there's something very endearing about that. Like
I love it.
He just doesn't give a crap. Like that's the thing with like the veto. I guarantee you, like he said, when Kevin approached him and asked him if he would play, quote unquote, play for him in the veto competition, Enzo could easily say just like, Kevin, I'm so sorry. Like I just, I got to go against the HOH. Like I'm not going to go against the HOH. I just can't. It's first week, whatever. And like Kevin would be like, completely understand, totally get it. Like anybody would say that to Enzo because he's just so like. He's just so no nonsense, or appears that way, and I think that leads to good things. So leading into that, I have to ask you guys, who do you think is going to win it all this season? I must admit, like before we answer, I was really good at predicting your season, Rachel.
I remember you said that.
I was not as good last year because my prediction last year was Nick.
I remember that.
I predicted Tommy last year. I got close.
Hey, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So, Rachel, who do you predict will win it all?
Well, first off, I want to say that my chair keeps lowering, whatever, how I can even say that. So I just keep getting smaller and smaller under this mic, and it's really annoying. So I'll get a new chair next week. Anyways, who do I think is going to win it all? Well, today on the Secret Alliance podcast, I said that I believe Enzo was going to take it all. And I don't know. He's got a big personality. I don't know, but I was kind of wavering between Enzo and God, do I have to pick one person?
Yes.
No, pick it. Just like
No.
pick a final two, or two, the last two people. Who do you think, or just who you think? I mean, there's 15 people in the house. It's like
Okay. Early on the Secret Alliance podcast, I did say Enzo and Bailey, but I don't think that they'll make it to the final two together. I just think that one of them is going to make it into that final two chair. But I think it could be maybe a Tyler Enzo. I'm not sure. Or maybe even an Enzo Nicole Franzel. I think that the alliances are going to get broken up. You know what I'm saying? Like the Enzo and the Cody and the Nicole and the Danny. So I think it's going to be somebody in that 4 core alliance that's going to be sitting in the final 2. But I'm going to pick Enzo for now.
Okay, good. Well, Mark, before you share your answer, I just want to say with alliances already forming. So basically, I just wanted to say, so we're seeing at least one alliance with Cody, Tyler, Franzel, Danny, potentially Memphis, Enzo, potentially Ian, David. There's a bigger alliance forming, leaving Day, Bay, Janelle, Kaser, Nicole A, Kevin, and Christmas to figure something out. Now, I know Christmas is sort of in that alliance too, but just so everybody knows, that's what we're talking about. So, Mark, who do you think is going to win it all?
You mean aside from Keisha?
Yes, aside from Keisha.
Yes.
No, I think Ian
won the hearts of America and you, so she's already won.
I'm kidding. No, I think Ian's got a pretty good shot at it, and I think if there is going to be a first back-to-back or a 2-time winner, I think he definitely deserves it. I think this last episode we saw that he basically said that he's on the spectrum, and I think aside from the I myself am a very awkward person. I can't compute math and do all the other cool stuff, but I feel like that's kind of like a superpower, especially in that house. And he's a very analytical person. And I think that's really, really going to do well for him.
That's a really good point. And that's hilarious. Well, not really, but I was going to say Ian too. I think he has a really good shot of winning a second time. Only because I think that he's flying under the radar. And I think, I would love to see Janelle win because she's such a great player and she's never won. But I think she's way too big of a target.
Yeah.
And it's the people, we've talked about this before. I mean, on our other shows, not on this show. So I need to stop saying that. But it's the people who are not on the radar, like Danny and Christmas and Bailey, And like Rachel, you mentioned before, there's also something to be said about the person who wins the first competition. I don't know why that is the case, but for some reason they always go far.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Tyler won his first competition in your season, got second. Last year, Mickey won the first competition and won the game.
Yep.
And in 18, Franzel won and won the game. So
that's true.
There's something with that, and I don't know why. So I also think, with that logic, I think Cody is going to go far too.
Yeah, I agree. And, a lot of people might say, hey, let's cut Enzo because that's how we can reel in Cody closer to us. Because I was starting to think, they might get angry at Cody for making too many alliances. But I mean, that didn't catch up to Tyler. And I guess until the vote. But I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, that was a really tight vote between Tyler and Casey anyway.
It was separated by one vote, I believe, which was Bailey, who voted for Casey.
Wow. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like that to me, I think with Tyler, again, with his strategy at this point, when he's saying yes to all these alliances, that doesn't really bother me. I mean, I still think he could go very far because he is also unassuming. He's not, even though people should realize that he is way smarter than he appears to be, but I think he plays this dumb surfer guy, oh yeah, sure. Let's get together. And he's very nice and welcoming to everybody. I think that could really carry him far too, but I don't know that would be I don't think all those final twos are detrimental to him.
Yeah. I mean, coming from somebody who was in the house with Tyler, the boy is just very trusting. You feel as though you want to trust him, and you do. I mean, he feels like a person that you could literally put your life in their hands. So I know how it feels to be in a house with him and to have everybody, want to be his best friend. I mean, he had the whole house convinced. I mean, he had the other side convinced the entire time, the first week, that Steve was staying and Sam was going. And then when it happened, he's like, I don't know what happened, So, and he still had them convinced for so long that it wasn't him. That's what was insane. So
that's totally crazy.
I still can't believe it to this day when I think about it. I can't believe that nobody would go, Tyler. No, they all went, oh, it has to be like a JC or,
Yeah.
I was always blamed on JC, I think, actually. So
do you guys remember when Steve was like, I'm the best. Like he was like, I'm so sly and sneaky player. And like, he was profusely sweating, like as he was trying to talk to people.
I remember I was in the house and I remember looking over at him and he was so uncomfortable and nervous. And I remember thinking to myself, God, this guy is so uncomfortable right now. He feels like way out of his element. And so, yeah.
He's definitely not an undercover cop.
I think he was.
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
Like you think
That's
he would
what
be
it
good in
was.
that
That's what it was.
because he's like,
That's what it was.
I'm
Oh
the
my God.
detective. I can read people. I can lie, and then he just shit the bed.
Mark,
so
that
Summer
was it.
Eve was
That's what I was-
canceled.
That's what I remember because he's like, I'm an undercover cop. And then he'd be like grilling someone and he'd be like sweating so much. You're like, oh my God, what's happening to this guy? Well, you
Poor
guys,
Steve.
that's it. That's our first show.
Yeah.
Yay! Thank you to everybody. I just looked in. There's 20 people watching. So is it about 20 people or
Yeah,
19?
about 20 people. It looks like. Thank you guys so much for following along with us live. Be sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, which we're on right now, or hopefully you're on. And make sure you follow the show on Instagram at From Outside the House and on Twitter at Outside BB House. We will see you next Thursday, right after the live eviction. Will we have a special guest? All I can say is expect the unexpected.
We will. Don't worry about that.
All right.
Rachel.
Well, okay, come on, Rachel. Come on.
I mean, I don't know if we'll have a special guest. I guess you'll have to tune in next week to find out.
All right. Thanks, guys. From Outside the Big Brother House, this has been Outside the House. Good night.
Not everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.